Frankenstein's Aunt by Rune Pettersson. At the village inn again. The station master sipped his sherry. I'll have you know I've found it hard to sleep at nights since she came, he said. Ever since there's been lights showing up there in the castle, that's been the end of my beauty sleep. Same for the wife, too. The innkeeper absent-mindedly wiped the table with his cloth, although he had only just done it, and the guard was given yet another opportunity to lift his coaster. I've only seen the lights in the actual castle, said the innkeeper. It's been just as dark as in the laboratory as before, and you heard what the Ermgard said, that it sounded as if she's only come to clean up the castle and the family name a little. Well, I've got my own ideas about that, said the guard, wiping the froth off his mustache. I spied on her a bit out in the corridor that night on the train, and with my own eyes I saw her sitting there with that fat yellow old tome. And on one occasion she sort of raised her hands in front of her like, well, you know who I mean. Mark my words, she was reading the instructions, said the station master in a hollow voice. Yes, you mark my words, things are getting like the old days again. He lowered his voice and looked around. And you know what? I met the postmistress yesterday. She's been picking harebells, and said when she was on her way home, she saw a man rather like that Talbot on the edge of the forest. Talbot, said the innkeeper. You mean the American who... But he had no wish to mention the evil creature by name. But he hasn't been seen around here for years. Yes, that's what I was saying. It's beginning to look like the old days again, and it'll soon be the whole moon. He raised his glass and took a sip of sherry, but stopped in the middle of the movement and turned deathly pale. Through the inn window, which was slightly open to let out the tobacco smoke, they heard a distant, long, drawn-out howl rising and falling, echoing throughout the village streets in the spring evening. Did you hear that? He hissed. Only a dog, said the innkeeper uncertainly. Old man Miles' dog, as usual. Miles not at home, said the guard. He's gone to see his sister in Newburgh. Well, that's probably why the dog's howling then, said the innkeeper. You can't mean it. No, I can't believe it. He shuffled over to the taproom counter to fetch the sherry bottle. On the house, Helmut, he said. He filled the deathly pale station master's glass, and then eased his way past the table to close the window. Pity I don't drink sherry, mumbled the guard into his empty beer tankard. The innkeeper stood with his stomach pressed against the window niche, staring out into the blue April night. At the end of the village street he could see the mist lying white over the valley, and on the other side of the valley rose the dark mountains. A pale, almost full moon was shining down on the Frankenstein castle, but the moon wasn't the only light he could see. Listen, men, he said over his shoulder, and his voice was suddenly hoarse. There's a light on in the laboratory now. And that's the end of that chapter.